starting lineup, 3 changes, including one at scrum half.
Yeah, Petrie's out. I thought he typified an experienced player, but didn't have a good game in Charleston. That is a tactical change. They have a couple other changes for injury. Their captain, Todd Clever, has to play better, has to lead this team today if there's anything in it for the Eagles.
What about the replacements? Petrie is obviously among them on the bench.
Yeah, and that was totally tactical. He did not play well. Shaw's in at 9. The forwards of the U.S. are big. The weight is the same as the Canadians. They should win their own ball in the scrum. Can they run off it? Time will tell.
We'll see most of those replacements. Our referee is from Dublin, Ireland. Works for the Rugby Football Union. J.P. Doyle, 34 years of age. It is his 7th international. Starting lineup for Canada as well, a number of changes and some late switches, Brian.
Yes, just today, Tyler Ardren pulled up ill. He is out of the game. At second row, we have Big John Phelan, the 6'8" engineer from Montreal, moves in. They have moved Jeb Sinclair over to the flank position. And at hooker, we have Barkwell starting. Ryan Hamilton received a concussion down in Charleston. He's out as well.
As far as the bench is concerned for Canada, Sean Duke is the name that wasn't on the original 23.
They've added him with the pullout this morning of Tyler Ardren, and the Canadians do not have a hooker on the bench.
Time for the national anthems of the USA and Canada.
Un officier réserviste de l'armée canadienne, chanteur et acteur avec Blue Sapphire, DEP et Universal Music, qui interprétera les hymnes nationaux des États-Unis et du Canada.
Oh, say, can you see by the dawn's early light what so proudly we hailed at the twilight's last gleaming, whose broad stripes and bright stars through the perilous fight o'er the ramparts we watched were so gallantly streaming, and the rockets recollect the bombs bursting in air, gave proof through the night that our flag was still there. Oh, say does that star-spangled banner yet wave o'er the land of the free and the home of the brave? Oh, Canada, our home and native land, true patriot love in all thy sons' command. With glowing hearts we see thee rise, the true North strong and free. From far and wide, O Canada, we stand on guard for thee. God keep our land glorious and free. O Canada, we stand on guard for thee. O Canada, we stand on guard for thee.
Late summer sunshine at BMO Field in Toronto. It is the venue for A winner-takes-all encounter between Canada and the USA. And you know as well as I do, Brian Spanton, that when Canada plays the USA at anything, and I mean anything, there is a rivalry to be had, and that will not be missed this afternoon.
And I think the Canadians want to come out right off the trot and bring that physicality and show that the home team in their red sweaters mean business today. They're not looking beyond this afternoon. Whereas the Eagles, Todd Clever, what does he have up his sleeve with this group? They looked very flat in Charleston. I thought Canada went down to Charleston with the pressure on them. And if the U.S. were going to make any headway, it would have been last Saturday. I thought they looked flat, and the result obviously showed that.
Canada has won its last 6 games consecutively against the Americans. I have to ask you this. Do the U.S. have any chance at all of winning this, and winning this by the required margin?
I would say a win by the Eagles today would be a real character win for them, and it is doable, but a win by more than the aggregate of 18 I can't see. However, the Canadians have 3 changes in the forward pack. That may cause some disruption. The Americans have to get right at them up front.
Chris Wiles gets us underway for the Americans in those blue jerseys with red hoops. Canada, as they did in Charleston, with red jerseys, white shorts and red socks. And Mr. Doyle, our referee from Dublin, is mic'd up throughout the game, so he will be part of our conversation. We'll be able to hear exactly what he says and how he's instructing those players.
And I must say, I thought Leighton Hodges from Wales last week did not have a great game. I thought he had a problem with the scrummage, and he was a little too visible for my liking. I'm curious to see how Doyle goes today. And by the way, Nigel, last week at this time, Canada had a 7-0 lead, 37 seconds in.
Put in this time by Barkwell. Ray Barkwell, one of the changes. Todd Clever already on the charge, the inspirational captain for the United States. Offloads to Louis Stanfill. Away it comes. The Americans need to score early and often to really trouble the Canadians. It's an aggregate home and away score.
Tackle, roll!
The Americans try and keep possession just outside the Canadian 22. They need a fast start, not only to put the points on the board, but to build their self-confidence, their self-belief in the early moments of this game, having been well beaten last weekend.
But this is very good stuff by the Americans. This is 4 or 5 phases of rugby. We didn't see this all afternoon from Charleston, and they're actually threatening the line, something that they failed to do last Saturday.
No clear release. Clear release before you play the ball.
And that stanza of those several phases has resulted in a penalty. The Americans will have to decide if they might take a shot at points or just chip it into the sideline and run off the lineout. But that is a very good start for the Eagles. I'm sure Aaron Carpenter is telling the boys they have to try and disrupt the tackle a little bit more, look for some turnovers. They do not want the Eagles to get into any type of rhythm this afternoon, gain any confidence, and move forward from there.
Let me know if I need
Chris
to
Wiles
stop the
just
game.
chips it right into the corner. It will be the line out, but inside the 5-meter line of the Canadians.
Have to stop the game.
Well, the referee is running away to our assistant here and towards the touchline. I think there's a technical problem here for him.
Now, we did talk off the top that Canada does not have a hooker on the bench. Their backup hooker today is Captain Aaron Carpenter. He has played the position before for Bristol, and that was a decision made by Kieran Crowley and his staff. Ryan Hamilton went down, Ray Barkwell moves in, and Aaron Carpenter is in fact the backup hooker today. Other changes for Canada. Big Jamie Cudmore broke his hand. He is out. Tyler Hodson's in at second row. Tyler Ardren pulled up with an illness this morning. John Phelan comes in. And Jeb Sinclair moves to flanker. 3 big changes, 3 World Cup forwards out for Canada.
Let him land.
And pressure.
Let the guys land. Okay,
just about on the 5-meter line. Can the Americans make early headway against Canada? They win the line out.
Number 2, Canada taking out the pillar. Time off. Number 2
Stop
taking the
clock. Talking to Barkwell.
Stay with me. Stay with me. Taking out the lifters, okay? Team warning, okay? Take out the lifters again, they're gonna go. All right, man with the ball only.
Just a warning?
Yep.
A conversation with Canadian captain Aaron Carpenter.
Sorry, yeah. Sorry, it has to be out 15, okay? You have to retake it, okay? You have to retake it. Go back on the goal line, guys.
How long can they hold them up?
They'll bring it down. Leave that with me. Full penalty.
So into touch again. Retake it was the instruction from Mr. Doyle.
Some jockeying already. Todd Clever was actually looking for a yellow card there for Canada. Aaron Carpenter said, how long can they hold him up? They're trying to feel out this new referee and get right in his head already.
Chris Miller will take the line out right to the back over everybody. It's a loose ball. Picked up by Jones. Disappears in the huddle. Can Mack get it away? Into touch by Canada and relieves some of the pressure from the in-goal area.
Not a great clearance by Kieran Ahern, who does have a big leg, but that is the epitome of the U.S. effort. They have a great attacking position. They throw the ball in the line out and lose it, but they will get it back here. They're very fortunate that Ahern didn't pound that down the field. Okay? The Americans cannot gag up chances like this. They have to score points from an attacking position at the 5-meter line.
More pressure for the Canadians to deal with. Up go the Americans. They manage to move it right this time as they try and get some inches towards that Canadian line. Will the red defense hold firm? And it comes again. The Americans moving it right. Plenty of support. Still short of the 5-meter line. Canada with scrambling defense, trying to hold the US at bay.
Immediately.
That's a big win by Canada there. They held the ball carrier up. Consequently, it will be a Canada put in. A big test, first scrum of the game, but if Canada wins their own ball, which they should be able to clear this ball. You know, we talked a lot about Phil Mack in the game he had last week, but I thought Harry Jones was terrific as well. Played number 10, and he makes a big tackle there to possibly save a try as the Eagles were coming in.
Now, the first scrum of the game, we'll get into this a little bit later on, but the scrummage rules have changed significantly. The last word they hear is set. Phil Mack will put it in. They'll expect to get it out the back with some help from Carpenter. Referee's whistle goes.
And one of the other things, Nigel, is the ball from the scrum half should go into the tunnel, not into the second row.
More steady, please, Canada, on your side of the ball after put in. Or before put in, sorry.
But we're going to reset. And this is one of the challenges for referees and players alike. The scrummage setup has changed significantly in the interests of safety, and this is a global experiment that's only just started and will be re-evaluated at the end of the European season in May.
Too slow.
Once again,
too slow. Number 9 from the 8.
The Americans wanted to just get on with it, but Mr. Doyle wasn't having any of that.
And here we go again with the scrummages. That looked very loose. Canadians did not win their own ball, and they've put themselves under pressure here. They have to sort that out very quickly.
11 is Luke Hume looking to scamper down the sideline. The Americans press again on the 5-meter line, and they've been there for 3 or 4 minutes now. Inching closer. Inching closer. Can they force the ball over the try line for the first score? Can they get it down? His whistle goes again.
The ball was held up. They were over the try line. It was never touched down. That's good defense by Canada. But here we are 6.5 minutes into the game, and the Canadians have been under pressure the whole time.
Well, it's a very, very different start from what we saw in Charleston 7 days ago. As you say, the Canadians scored within 30 seconds there. I don't think they've been out of their own half in this entire game.
And kudos to the Americans, but they held this up. That was a great defensive stand by Canada. But the put-in is to the Eagles. And this scrummage, once again, presuming they win their own ball, will have the Canadians under attack.
They'll want to recycle it, move it quickly, and then fool their opponents as far as the direction it goes. It'll be Robbie Shaw with the put-in this time for the Americans, the replacement scrum half, in the 8th minute on the Canadian 5-meter line.
Bind! set. Yes, 9.
Yes, 9 is the call. Now he can put it in. Robbie Shaw looking for it to come back.
Accidental. Off your second row. Off your second row.
So what he's called there is the ball from number 8, Todd Clever, went forward, or he went into his second row as Phil Mack attempted to tackle him. Another break for Canada. It is there put in, but it is imperative they shore this scrum up immediately.
Well, Todd Clever and his compatriots will be encouraged by this start for the Americans, but they haven't yet managed to convert it into points. And it's very important from the US point of view that they do that and do it quickly. And they get one against the head this time.
Bind. Set. Yes, 9.
Yes, 9 is the call. Phil Mack puts the ball in.
Stay behind the
With
ball,
the
Blue
back,
9.
Carpenter pushing them forward, just back to his number 9. How can the Americans force him into touch?
Release the ball, Canada. Release the ball. Away you go.
Scott Lavala with the tackle, which stopped the Canadians' progress.
That's risky stuff by Aaron Carpenter. I think it was out of necessity that he just shoveled the ball back to Phil Mack because the scrum was moving. It appears the Americans are attempting to screw the Canadian scrum just slightly and then nudge them forward. Canadians have to sort that out, but they have a little bit more breathing space here. They're at about the 10 or 12 meter line as opposed to the 5.
So Biller with the put in from the line-out, still deep in Canadian territory. The Americans win it again. Off to Shaw, to Lestrange, and forward the Americans come again. Forward, and this time they might be in. They are over the line, and the try has been given.
Sorry. Whoa. Sorry. Hold on.
Well, now,
just let him up.
maybe
Time's
there
off.
is
Let him up.
a second look at this, but the referee's arm went up as if to indicate the try
Trevor. We're going up to Jim.
from Biller.
Yeah, it looked like the hooker, Chris Biller, did get over, and our referee Doyle has decided to go upstairs, which is probably the right call if he's uncertain.
This is a question for you.
But what it is,
Try,
almost 10 minutes into the
or
game,
no?
is a result of U.S. pressure.
Television match official is Jim Hewley, and JP Doyle on the field will wait for the TV match replay.
Ian, can you confirm
Here's
that
what the
relayed?
TV official will see. Well, now, did he get it down? Did he actually ground the ball? He's over the line, there's no question about that. But did the Canadian defender roll him on his back and stop him grounding the ball? It's Biller over the line.
9 presented and never put it in. He waited about 2 or 3 seconds after
Kieran
he
Hearn
presented.
perhaps is trying to stop him. Initially the try is awarded.
Well, the Canadians have been experimenting in the centers, and Hearn and Blevins are in there for their tackling. Right
Did he get it?
there, it's blocked by John Moonlight. We can't tell from that angle. Unless Kieran Hearn's hand was right under the ball, this angle should show us.
Here comes Biller. Hearn is 13. He'll go with him. Tackle him. Now he's down. He's over the line. Does he get the ball down, or is
I would say it's
Hearn's left arm preventing that ball from touching the grass? That's what the TV official is trying to decide here, and it's a thankless task, Brian.
Yeah, I think from that angle, he may have just touched it down. That has to be definitive. I thought Canada was unlucky last week having one called back. Is it going to even up right now?
Well, Biller and his teammates thought he was over. Are we going to get the decision? JP Doyle waits, as does Biller and the Americans. How precious a lead this would be if it's given. One more look. Biller and Hearn. Their momentum takes them over the try line. Right there is Hearn's left arm preventing that ball from meeting terra firma. Well, it's inconclusive, isn't it, Brian?
Yeah, boy, it's close.
I mean, the Americans certainly thought they'd scored. The celebration when it was done, they had no doubt that the ball had been grounded, and often you can tell from a player's reaction.
Well, the one thing this will do, it's given Aaron Carpenter a few moments to round the troops up and say, boys, we better get at it here because they've been all over us for the first 9-10 minutes of the game, and we better get going.
Chris Biller waits with his teammates to see whether the Americans have the lead. Still we wait for a definitive yes or no from the TV referee. And there was a long wait for that first try in Charleston last weekend.
Yeah, that looked good from the get-go, and then they called, obviously that was a good try by Phil Mack. I thought the second try by Phil Mack, the tackler on that play last week, I thought was not in a position to make the tackle, and they have called this back.
It is no try. It's huge disappointment for the Americans because they were over the line, but Kieran Hearn's left arm just enough to stop Biller grounding the ball. And my word, Canada have got themselves a life there, haven't they?
Yeah, they dodged a bullet, and I think, as you said, Nigel, it was inconclusive, so they couldn't award the try.
The outcome is another scrum on the 5-meter line. Canada, as you rightly say, Brian, have been warned.
Yes, 9.
And Shaw puts the ball in, but immediately the whistle goes.
And there's something you rarely see at this level of rugby. He's called Shaw for feeding the ball. And Canada, again, will clear this.
Feed, tight heads, foot.
And make up some real estate and collect themselves and try and move the ball down the park.
Harry Jones with the responsibility. Canadian fly half, kicks for touch, good distance, on about halfway.
Now, the one thing with a call like that, Doyle has to be consistent now for the rest of the game. Phil Mack better buy into that and make sure the ball's not going into his second row's feet, or he will call it.
Just a reminder that although it's no score on the day, Canada does have an 18-point advantage going into this game. It's a home-and-home or home-and-away series, whichever you prefer. And Canada effectively leads, as we speak, by 18 points to 0, although there is no score here in Toronto. Well, first 10 minutes have come and gone. It's been pretty much all USA, which wasn't last week. And they'll be disappointed that what they thought was a good try was chalked off. But certainly the Canadians have been warned that the Americans have come to play.
But another unforced error by the Americans. Their line out, the ball wasn't thrown in straight. They've had a scrum infraction where the put-in wasn't straight. The U.S. cannot make unforced errors today. They have to play the perfect game to get back in it.
Yes, 9.
Phil Mack with the put-in for Canada.
Same. Tight heads, foot.
And I just alluded to that. The Americans were called for feeding, and Phil Mack just got called for feeding. The scrum halves have to put the ball in down the channel, and Doyle, referee Doyle, is going to call it.
So no score in the 12th minutes. It's international rugby on TSN. We take you downstairs to Megan Mucci.
Hey guys, yeah, Canada has not made it out of their end so far. We're about 12 minutes in. USA have made quite clear what they're up to. They've been within Chris Wild's kicking distance and kicking range, and they've decided for lineouts and to run every single penalty. So that one they called back was quite lucky for Canada.
Well, thank you. Nguyen is enveloped in a sea of bodies. And finally, inside the American 22, and we haven't seen that all day. Todd Clever, of course, in the thick of it. The Americans clear their line. Robbie Shaw, the kick ahead, into touch. James Pritchard was underneath it, but he had a foot the wrong side of the line.
And that's better by the Canadians. And once again, it's the pesky Phil Mack clearing the ball down the field. The Americans under pressure will cough the ball up. The Canadians playing in the American end now, settling in. Still, that scrum has to be concerned for the Canadian side.
Line out on halfway. It's a loose ball. The Americans pick it up, and that'll be another disappointment for the Canadians because they had the put-in at the line out through Barkwill. But again, untidy from Canada on halfway. Just that one foray into the American zone. Moving it right. And trying to do it quickly as they must do. They know they need to win the game. That's Eric Fry on the floor. Ball is recycled. Going for the kick this time is Luke Hume. Doesn't find touch. Kept in play by the Canadians. But again,
release the ball,
down in a dangerous area for Canada and an encouraging one for the United States.
And you mentioned Ray Barkwell. He basically split minutes with Ryan Hamilton in the PNC earlier this year in May and June. A lot of pressure on him today. As we mentioned earlier, Aaron Carpenter is the backup hooker. I thought Barkwell could have thrown the ball in better. Last weekend in Charleston, Canada had a terrific attacking position from the 5-meter line, and they looked totally disorganized. They have to sort that out quickly.
Villa with the throw, taken by Stanfill. Being pushed back, being repelled by the red shirts of Canada. Try line you can just see.
Tackle!
Still well inside the 22. Peter Dahl. Canada ball.
Catch it. Right, just, you two guys come here, right? Both of the sanctions against you guys, when you rolled it in, it went straight to your tight head's foot, which is what we talked about, okay? It's got to go through the tunnel. Sorry. No, I understand. I know you are.
Conversations with both scrum halves from Mr. Doyle talking about the direction of the put-in, putting it through the tunnel.
And he has been consistent. I think, you know, as a referee, we're still in the first quarter of the game, but he's been consistent so far. And that's all you can ask for. We'll see what Phil Mack does now, but it also gives the U.S. Eagles maybe a chance to have a go at this.
Crouch!
I'm going. Johnny, you've got him. Yeah.
Bind!
The new instructions are crouch,
yes,
bind, and set. Yes, number 9. Charge down. Not lucky. More pressure from the Americans as the Canadians try and clear their line to no great effect. It's going to be another rapid kick towards the touchline. Won't find touch this time. Hands. Possession back to Luke Hume of the USA. Over halfway. Still no score. Quarter of an hour gone. Hume could go all the way here. Canada have won it back again. Quickly away by Mack. The bounce inside the 22. Blaine Scully will pick it up for the United States. Awkwardly bouncing. He'll kick for touch himself, or perhaps just for distance to his opposite number, James Pritchard. Pritchard up towards halfway for Canada.
15 legal.
Mack is in there helping out. The Americans take possession.
Stay, Canada.
Strange moves it along the line. Stanfill to ground. Shaw on the break again. Right on the 22 now. There's a man over if he can be found. He might be in the corner. It is going to be the opening try, is it? It is. And Tuko Ngwenya has scored. There's no argument, no confusion about this one, as Ngwenya walked it in for the United States. And the Americans have finally got their lead against Canada by 5 points to 0.
And they've been the better team, Nigel. No bones about it. The Canadians had an opportunity to secure that ball. James Pritchard took the high ball, went into contact. The support was slow, was turned over. The Eagles went from there, and a great try in the corner. And this margin of 18 has been cut 17 minutes into the game.
Sorry, Chris.
Well, there was always the overlap there. If Ngwenya wanted a missed tackle, he decided to use his own strength. Grounded it on that occasion. There's no question this time that the ball meant the grass. Ngwenya in for the United States, who have the first score of the game and lead Canada on Canadian soil by 5 points to 0.
One of the Canadian strong suits in Charleston was their ball in contact and their retention and production of the ball. But when Pritchard took that ball, went to about the halfway line, went down, the support was not there. It was too slow. The Americans nicked it. Blaine Scully nicked it. And the Eagles spread it way left, and the try was on.
Chris Wiles with the opportunity to add an extra 2 points with the conversion. It's well out on the left-hand side. Might suit the left, but no, he's pulled it wide. And the Americans' lead remains at 5 with the Ngwenya try. Let's go downstairs and Megan Mutry.
I talked to Captain Todd Clever before the game about why they're not scoring tries. So this is the first one in about 4 games. They are they're clearly making choices to run the ball where they could kick and running the balls instead of taking penalties.
Megan, thank you. And so, Canada in the unfamiliar position of kicking off against a try by the Americans, straight into the arms of Scott Lavala inside the US 22.
Use it.
Now, the question must be asked, because it has been American dominance in this first 18, 19 minutes, with that lead, which was 18 and now down to just 13. What is the mental mindset, and what has Canada not done this week, Brian, that they did so well in Charleston a week ago?
Well, I think things they wanted to improve on, their set pieces, line out and scrums early in the game, they haven't been good. And something that's been a strong suit of the Canadians, their ball in contact. We've seen them spill a few balls. Of more concern, Jason Marshall didn't look good after that kickoff. I'm sure they don't want him to go down. He anchors that scrum from the tight head position, and he looks like he may have taken a knock and is being attended to.
Penalty to Canada, as Marshall will get some attention.
A side entry, blue 12.
On that one, with that ball out, we called it ball
Yes.
out. Yeah, which was on the ground.
Yeah. No, pass back foot.
So, from distance, and when I say from distance, I mean right on halfway, James Pritchard is spotting the ball down, maybe, I don't know, 6 inches inside American territory, no more than that. So this is the best part of a 50-meter attempt from Canada's record point scorer. He's got what breeze there is at his back, but it's not much. There's a perfect look for you. So can Pritchard reduce the arrears and get Canada on the board? From downtown, Pritchard got the distance and the direction. Oh, it was comfortable. It was perfect from Pritchard. And the arrears are just 2.
And the thing that amazes me about him, whether he's kicking a 50-meter penalty or a 10-meter convert, the stroke is always fluid. It's always the same, that small 3-step approach. We have seen Kieran Hearn take the ball when it's a 50-meter kick, but Pritchard wanted the ball, and those are big points for Canada.
Effortless. It looked effortless, and I suppose the secret of any sport is good timing, and he's almost robotic. Like a metronome, he's so smooth, Pritchard. Born in New South Wales, Australia. Thank goodness he had a Canadian grandfather. Otherwise, all those points for Canada would have been kicked for somebody else.
Yeah, the story goes the Canadians were on tour in Australia. I think it was 2002, and he talked to them about that lineage, and one thing led to another, and here we are some 10 years later, and he's passed the iconic Gareth Rees as the all-time point scorer for the Canadians.
Well into the 500s now for Mackenzie, I beg your pardon, for Pritchard. In terms of point scoring for Canada over the last 10 years or so. So the arrears just 2 as a result of that penalty, and another penalty coming up for Canada.
Yeah, I think what the Canadians want to do is just settle in now, get into their game plan. They want to play in the American end. They're not adverse to spreading the ball, but they want to do so prudently, and they have to tighten up their set pieces. At this level of rugby, they must win their own lineouts and scrums. And when I say scrums, they must do so solidly, Nigel. A couple of the balls they have won, they've been under pressure. We've seen Carpenter making high-risk passes to Phil Mack. They have to tighten it up, as they do with the lineout, starting right now.
So the aggregate lead down to 16 for Canada as a result of Pritchard's penalty. Now there's men over here on the far side. Could be in for the first try of the Canada game. And they are. And the stadium erupts. Canada scores and takes the lead against the United States.
And we just said the Canadians were not adverse to running a great play off the line out. The ball is spun. Kieran Hearn straightened it up, and he had Pritchard. And then Pritchard had people outside him, but he just straightened it up. In addition to kicking penalties, he can score tries. A great score and a great response by the Canadians.
Wonderful movement across the line, and finally Pritchard takes the responsibility and crosses the line himself to add to the penalty he scored just moments ago. So his personal tally increases, but more importantly, Brian, it puts Canada in the lead for the first time.
Yeah, and Kieran Hearn set that up. He straightened up his run, drew in the last defender, popped it out. It was a gimme for Pritchard, and now the Canadians are totally back in control, and they have to take it to the Americans now. I don't think they want to play back and forth with the Eagles. They just want to put the ball in the American Eagles' end and stay there.
Pritchard, once again, from out wide. It'll be right-footed this time. To extend the lead. Well, has he missed it? He has. He is human after all. It was very wide out. Missed it by maybe a foot. Downstairs, here's Megan again.
Give him a break. We got the first 5. I was talking to Gareth Reese about Pritchard's kicking, and Pritchard always practices into the wind because it's more difficult.
Megan, thank you so much. So Canada leading the USA by 8 points to 5. With what, quarter of an hour left in this first half, and you might say normal service resume, Brian, but the USA have certainly given the Canadians all they could handle in the first 20 minutes of the game. Finally, the Canadians have perhaps found their rhythm a little.
Yeah, I think the Americans came out guns a-blazing, more organized than last week, but the Canadians are settling down into a rhythm, and that try will obviously give them some confidence.
Meanwhile, the Americans on the attack once again inside the Canadian 22, now trailing by 3.
Come back.
Comes across to Biller, trying to make room. 20 meters out. Americans looking to recycle. There's the try line and the posts. They're that close. They know they've got to win this game, and that was the first order of business when Todd Clever was talking. He says, well, let's just try and win the game, and then we'll count up the points afterwards. But they've lost possession, have they?
It's advantage Canada.
And that's something they can't do. Advantage Canada, says Mr. Doyle.
Ball's available. Use it.
Phil Mack being asked to use it. He does so eventually.
Advantage
As Canada
over.
comes left.
Open play. Open play.
Loose ball. Canada picks it up.
Release. Yes, ball.
It's all a little tight on this left-hand side. Not much room for manoeuvre. Mack again. Thought about the kick. Decided to move it right. This is how the first try came about as far as Canada is concerned.
Canada, USA 1. Back you go. Thank you.
Americans being pushed back. Mack with no room to work. These are the hard yards. And on the break again, here come the Canadians. Oh, couldn't hold on to it, but they picked it up. Was there a knock-on? There was.
Great break there. I thought the Canadians might have been in again. Harry Jones made a great break. The support was there, and he just bobbled the ball very close, but referee Doyle in great position and called the knock-on. But this is enterprising stuff by the Canadians. They had an advantage in their own end from about the 10-meter line, and they chose to run it, and they've ended up inside the Eagles' 10. So this is what we want to see from Canada. Canada wants to play expansive, attractive rugby, even with the World Cup berth on the line.
Well, Harry Jones there, I mean, another product of the Sevens program, who's come to fruition in the full 15-a-side game. He and Mack have really made that transition, haven't they?
Several players have. I agree with you, Nigel. Kieran Hearn. John Moonlight was in the shadows not too long ago, and now he's emerging as the best breakaway on the team. And Sean Duke, who's on the bench, a great Sevens player. The men's Sevens program is terrific. I'm sure we'll see Nanyak Dalla in the second half. You know, talking about Harry Jones, that number 10 position with Nathan Hirayama, another great Sevens player on the bench. Liam Underwood in the squad. There's a position where they have 3 young guns. The future looks very bright there.
Eric Fry getting some attention for the Americans, hence the hold-up. But we're about to resume with a scrum midway inside the American 22. Will be a US put-in, and they need to win this.
Set. Yes, nine.
Can Robbie Shaw get it straight this time?
Put in again to the Eagles. The scrum went down. It wasn't that long ago when at an international level a team's put-in was automatic and the play was on. And what we've seen last week and this week is the scrum, a lot of movement, doesn't seem very solid. A lot of question marks. We've seen a couple of half-arm penalties for feeding today, and on it goes.
Well, this is a learning process, as we say, for the players and for the referees, the officials, trying to modify the scrummage laws, if you like, Brian, that have been around for 150 years.
Yeah, they're always trying to fine-tune the game, make it safer, make it more wide open. The purpose of this is to not have the big hitting. I mean, obviously at this level it's a very physical game in the front row, but they're just trying to fine-tune it with the new cadence and trying to police the put-in so that it is in fact somewhat fair, as opposed to going into the second row as it has been.
Well, I was talking to one of the IRB officials yesterday, and he said if you're in the front row and we do it like we've always done it, the G-force is like you're in a car wreck. It's as simple as that. And then you've got your number 8 coming in behind, so it's like you've been rear-ended as well as being in a car wreck.
Absolutely.
So these players are, you know, they're finely tuned athletes, but there's only so much the human body can take, Brian.
Absolutely, and the front row has always been an area of rugby union where they've tried to make the game as safe as possible, whether it's international rugby or mini rugby or high school rugby. You don't want the scrum collapsing, and this appears to be growing pains. But it would be interesting after today, if things continue to go like this, to speak to the boys in the front row and see their thoughts on it, because they look pretty frustrated.
Yeah, Megan downstairs has got more on the scrum. Megan, what you got?
Oh, I was just gonna say that forwards love practicing their set piece. They're always there for hours at practice, and they're always there after everyone else leaves. Now they get to do it all over again.
Megan, thank you very much. Megan Mutry, former Canadian international fullback. I'm not sure what she would know about the front row, but there we are, Brian.
Yeah, she ran by a lot of front row players.
I bet she did.
Pretty quick player.
I bet she did.
And one player who we haven't mentioned is Hubert Bidens. He is a terrific prop for Canada. Professional commitments in New Zealand. He's not available to these games, but he'll be back in the mix for the Rugby World Cup for sure.
Canada making progress, moving left again. Pritchard to ground. He has with him Van der Merwe, but Matt goes the other way.
Advantage.
And it'll be an American ball. JP Doyle, the referee, with plenty of decisions to make in this opening half an hour.
Yeah, an unforced error by the Canadians. Big Jeb St. Clair, playing blindside flanker at number 6, ran into a Canadian in front of him. Minor infraction resulting in another scrummage for the Eagles.
Well, he talked about Hugh Bidens there, and I think if we think back to the Rugby World Cup in 2011, everybody knew about the Beardos, and Bidens was one of them, and of course Adam Kleberger was one of them, the biggest beard. Jeb Sinclair is on the field in front of us. Where are the other 2 Beardos?
Well, as I said, Bidens is in New Zealand. Adam Kleberger coming off reconstructive shoulder surgery. Played some sevens recently in Colombia. He'll be back in the mix, but he had a pretty big-time injury. He's London Scottish property, and Jeb Sinclair tidied things up without his pals. He's cleanly shaven today.
Well, we'll wait to see what happens at the 2015 World Cup and whether the Beardos return. I'm sure there's a lot of Canadian fans who would like to see that.
Had effect, offside.
Offside this time.
Yeah, but
21 is the overall or the aggregate lead. Bearing in mind, Canada came in with an 18-point advantage. So 3 on the day, 21 overall. And one wonders, as we edge closer to half-time, how much bigger that can grow before the Americans think it's an unsurmountable lead.
Well, I had a conversation with Todd Clever yesterday, and I think his biggest concern about today is the Eagles feeling good about their effort, and he knows that that's a big ask, but he wants his players to give it all and let the chips fall where they may, but they were very disappointed with their effort in Charleston.
And they certainly paid the price in Charleston. Brian Doyle trying to make some hard yards inside the Canadian 22. Robbie Shaw throwing it left. They're not far out. They've already crossed the try line twice. One was given, one controversially ruled out. Can the Americans cross the try line again? They've coughed it up. They've coughed it up, and the Canadians kicking long. And the chase is on as the Americans look to emerge from their own 22 this time. Can they hold on to the ball? Guenia's in there, the try scorer. There's one almighty scramble for possession. The Americans have it for the time being. Hasn't found touch. And the red shirts of Canada coming forward again. There's a big gap there. There's a very big gap. Oh, and it's a knock-on. Dropped it at the vital moment. DTH van der Merwe made the run, but the pass off was mishandled.
Yeah, we usually see DTH featuring in the centers, and he played wing last week in Charleston, and obviously playing wing today, wearing number 11. Boy, is he quick from a standing start. The Canadians counterattack here. We talked about the counterattack being an issue for the Americans, and this was on. Phil Mack bobbled it right there. But the Canadians, DTH looking really very dangerous there.
Let's not make it worse. End up with sanctions, okay? Wait for that set.
Plenty of open pastures for the Canadians to run into, and they get that head of speed going. But the result of Phil Mack's mishandling is another scrum. And possession, or the put in at least, to the Americans with Shaw.
Set! Yes, 9.
Midway inside the American 22. Canada trying to turn the scrum.
Walking round, here we go.
But not to the satisfaction of the referee. And a penalty to the Americans.
Find your head.
This time get a chance to clear the lines up to just short of halfway.
And Andrew Tiedemann doesn't look great coming out of that scrum. Once again, a lot of movement in the scrummages. The referee's trying to sort that out. But whether it's an American put in or a Canadian put in, just too much movement. If they want to make the scrummage safer, there has to be less movement than that.
It's easy for everybody.
Referee talking again, Biller with the put in. Americans get it. Sean Lestrange, but they've spilled it again. Knock on the call. And Canada will take over. As Hume spilled it.
If you strike for it, and the scrum chases around.
I know this week at Appleby College, the Canadians forward coach, the Kiwi Neil Barnes, did a lot of work on the scrummage. There were bodies coming and going based on fitness. But I'm sure he'll be very frustrated, and he'll be talking to the boys at halftime about tightening this up for the final 40 minutes. I've said before, at this level, your own put-in has to be automatic.
Crouch, bind, set.
Yes, 9.
Yes, 9 is the final.
That's the best one of the day.
Canada comes away on the right-hand side of the field. Everything to their left at the moment. Carpenter barrowing through. Not much room on the blind side. Can they funnel it left? Sinclair.
Hands on.
Mack.
Number 9.
This is out one, and perhaps shouldn't have done that, because it'll be picked up by Lestrange, and the referee's whistle goes again.
That was a Canadian play where they're running a very flat line, and it's a design play. However, the problem with that is if that's picked off, that's between their sticks, and they have to be careful, as you said, Nigel. Very flat line. They had Jeb Sinclair in the back line as well, but it is also a play that can go dramatically wrong if the Eagles nick it.
Yeah, Sinclair couldn't pouch it, and then suddenly it's a loose ball, and as you say, if it falls to a blue shirt, there's nothing behind Sinclair.
Bring him closer.
Between that line of backs and the Canadian try line. But they, not for the first time this afternoon, dodged a bit of a bullet. And inside American territory, it is a scrummage.
Yes, 9.
Shaw with the put-in. Canada penalty is the result.
Yeah, the scrum wheeled, an American player went down. Andrew tied him in at loose head for Canada #1, doing a nice job there. And this is where James Pritchard comes in and punishes the Eagles for a costly mistake.
Well, as you can see where the ball is, it's right in the middle of the field. It couldn't be more central if he had his choice to put it where he wanted it. I guess it's, what, 35 metres out, and having already kicked one from halfway, this is a little wedge shot, isn't it, for him?
I would think so.
Yeah,
he is so fluid, whether it's, you know, the warm-up and he's got his visor on, as he is known to wear, or whether it's the game. Boy, is he fluid. It's a real treat to watch a kicker like that.
Goes through exactly the same routine as so many kickers do. Every foot movement is exactly the same as he sets himself and focuses on kicking the ball between the posts at the north end of BMO Field. Pritchard to extend the Canadian lead to 6 points. No, missed it. Well, there's the curse of the commentator. You give him the big build-up, and he misses one from right in front.
He is human.
Just one of three for Pritchard in this first half.
2 minutes on the running clock.
But he does have a try under his belt as well. In fact, he's scored all Canada's points so far. Isn't it strange how sometimes that just happens? Meanwhile, the Americans are through Pittman, burrowing forward.
Number. Finally offside, never onside.
Little grubber kick through.
Two, never
the referee's
onside.
Brought it back offside.
He's called Ray Barkwell offside, and what we're seeing is Todd Clever getting into the game much better than he did last week. He is the swashbuckling skipper of the Americans. He took the fast 22-meter restart. He received the long pass from the halfback. He's taking the Canadian backs on. He's a north-south player, and I thought last week he was not on his game, and the Americans seem to follow suit.
Well, he is Mr. USA, 10 years an American international. 2003 was his international debut against Argentina. It's hard to imagine a USA team without Todd Clever, although his record is not so clever against Canada. Just a couple of wins in all those matches, 11 losses.
Yeah, and a lot of his comrades are in the same situation. The Canadians have pretty well had their way with the Americans. 37-12-1 overall in the 50 test matches. But the Americans are bringing a more spirited effort today to BMO than they did last week to Charleston. And they are hanging around, but that deficit is a very tough one to look at.
Clever getting some running repairs as Chris Wiles prepares left-footed. Try and bring the Americans within reach. And he's got it. And he's tied it up at 8 apiece. It was just a glance between the two touch judges.
No, they would play a home-and-home with Uruguay. Playing down in Montevideo, very difficult place to play in. The Uruguayan forwards are quite big and tough, and the U.S. would have to play much better to ensure they got through that qualifying process. But let's see what happens in the next 40.
Well, that is a story for another day, as you might say, Brian.
USA, behind the ball.
Reminder that J.P. Doyle, our referee, is mic'd up. We can hear his instructions to his players.
What number?
Over the shoulder.
5 meters.
And that's a decent take by Evans. As Canada look to assert their advantage and their weight advantage, certainly in the pack in the early minutes of this second half.
And that started with big second row replacement John Phelan, 6'8", blocking the clearance box kick by the scrum half. John Phelan will be plying his trade in France. He's an engineering student, delighted to be in the lineup. As we mentioned before, the Canadians down 3 World Cup forwards in Tyler Ardron, Big Jamie Cudmore, and Ryan Hamilton, but the bodies that have come in are doing the job.
Just outside the US 22, the first scrum of the second half. Can they keep this one
close, USA.
Crouch! Referee just getting a little closer before the instruction to crouch.
Bind!
Now he asks them to bind the shoulders and finally set.
Yes, 9.
And when he's
Canada, not square and stationary.
and before Robbie Shaw gets the chance to put in, the referee gives him a little tap penalty. Pritchard in possession for Canada. Up and under, he may go after that one himself. 34-year-old.
Same player, same team, same team.
He's never going to duck out of a battle, is he? Kick ahead, put straight into a Canadian
Don't block him.
pair of arms. This time it's Toby Lestrange, the American fly half, disappears under a bevy of bodies.
Balls there, balls there.
Right on halfway. Canada keen to keep the Americans at bay. The US need points and they need them quickly in this second half. The clock is already against them.
Robbie Shaw is nattering a lot at the referee about getting the ball from the ruck, but the ball was available. He has called the Canadians holding the ball in, and the Canadians been awarded a penalty.
There's a demonstration, if ever it was needed, of Todd Clever's commitment to the cause. Meanwhile, Harry Jones just chips it into touch on that far side. It'll be a line out just about on the 22-meter line. Here's Jones, a couple of tries for his country since making the transition, but one of the less experienced full internationals. This is just his 6th international cap.
Advantage. Take him back in. Knock
to the
on
US.
advantage. Take him back in. No advantage. No advantage.
Once again, a shoddy looking lineup by the Canadians.
Pushing before the ball.
They look disorganized on that. That's a great attacking position to be in. They have to win their own put-ins. And one thing to look for in the scrum now, the Americans know the Canadians are under a little bit of pressure. And in the scrummage we're going to see, games do go on. You could see the Americans maybe here with a little bit of argy-bargy trying to get a call because the referee is watching the Canadians. It's very difficult to determine who may be turning or twisting a scrum.
Head of Eric Fry in the front row for the Americans.
Okay, all right, no problem, no problem. You get one chance to do that. Let's go again.
Let's try it again. It is a learning process and it is going to take some time for players and officials to become used to this new scrummaging system. But it is going to be a global experiment, if you like, for, well, the whole of the next 8 or 9 months. I'm told they'll review their findings in May of next year, because if they're going to adopt this for real, it has to be in place for the 2015 World Cup.
Absolutely.
Here's Clever again.
Let him up, let him up.
Lestrange kicks it ahead. Will not find touch. Pritchard.
Sorry.
Come away, Canada, come away.
This time.
Canada in 10. Front of the kicker.
Harry Jones didn't get as much distance on that as he'd have wanted.
The kicker.
No, absolutely. He wanted to put that up, but he did want more yards than what he did. The Canadian forwards were all within the 10 meters. They were offside. The referees called it a very makeable kick, and the Eagles can take the lead.
So a penalty to the Americans and a chance to retake the lead on the day, although reminding you, if you're joining us late, and we're delighted you're here, that the Canadians start with an 18-point lead, and that is where we are now. Chris Wiles from what, 26, 27 meters out. Fairly central, left-footed, and a chance to put the Americans back in front on Canadian soil. Concentration on the face of Wiles. Well, he's missed. He missed from, well, I mean, that should be meat and drink to a kicker at this level, you would think. And he just screwed it wide. And that's the sort of opportunity, really, that the Americans cannot afford to let go back.
Yeah, he missed the convert on the try. He has made a penalty. He goes 1 for 3. But absolutely, Nigel, he's got to make that kick. The collective group of Eagles, their shoulders went down when he missed that.
So as the Americans try to make some yards again, let's go downstairs and hear some more about that kicking from Megan.
Just in defensive kickers, we just saw Wiles miss that one from the center, and Pritchard missed one earlier on from the middle as well. A lot of time kickers hate kicks from the middle because you're supposed to get those ones. They actually ask that when their players score the tries, they go off to the side, just so you know.
I consider myself educated, thank you, Megan. There was a knock on there from Trevor that the game goes on, advantage Canada, and now in American territory. It was a lateral pass, it was almost forward, referee let it go, and finally out of play on that far side. And so Wiles' miss means that we are still tied up at 8 apiece.
Over 100 years in blue, with 55 acres of magnificent gardens.
This replacement for Canada, Tom Bilzell, has replaced Andrew Tiedemann. The front row for Canada, and he did say that Tiedemann was looking a little woozy earlier on.
Yeah, he took a knock. I'm not sure if that's tactical or injury related. And big strong man at Loosehead from London, Ontario, plays for the St. George's Club, getting a lot of minutes between the PNC and the Summer Series.
Hold on.
One name we haven't mentioned enough today is John Moonlight. I thought he's been terrific. He's had a lot of rugby, but I'd like to see him around the park a little more in the second half and contributing.
Not my problem.
Barkwell ball in hand, that far side throwing into the sunshine. It's a better take. The referee's whistle is gone.
Tackling in the air, number 5.
Tackling in the
Tackling
air,
the man
and
in the air, crushing.
penalty to Canada. Sinclair walks away. So Jones ball in hand. Kick for position on that far side, and manages to advance his team inside the American 22-meter line. Another offensive position for the Canadians. Well forward, Marshall.
Take a step
round the back. It's going to come out eventually. Canadians will delay it if they can, until all their players are where they want them. It's a game of push and shove at the moment.
And that's where a guy like Jeb Sinclair earns his living, making those tough yards. This all came off a great line-out play where Phil Mack darted in, almost like a sevens line-out, and took the ball. Finally, some offense from Canada here.
Mack and Jones, and forward goes Levins. Back to Mack. Not much room on that far side. Moonlight in possession. Have they kept it in play?
Advantage, foul play, blue 7.
Mack trying to retrieve it. Here's Mack again. Moves it right. And there's going to be a walk-in try.
Thank you, Dudley.
For the new man.
Knock on there.
Oh, it's not going to count. Well, the fans think it did. Tom Dozell walked in between the posts.
Take it
but
back
no
to
try.
No, there was a forward pass, but the referee was playing advantage, so we'll come back for Canada. And the decision will be if Aaron Carpenter is going to chip it to touch or they're going to run a penalty play. And they are warning the Americans. Number 7, Peter Dahl, an infraction, I believe.
Just a high tackle on you, okay? Okay, no more high tackles. Yep.
You heard that flag here, no more high tackles, says Mr. Doyle.
Okay, stay time off. Blue change, please. Send him on. Number 3, change. Tight head prop, substitution.
Some replacements in the meantime. And Oak Fry leaving the field. And being replaced by
time on, high tackle.
Manosu Kelly, who at 18 years of age.
Boys, don't take out the lift or let him land, okay?
Watch out for him, number
Canada
17.
formation of the line out.
18 years of age becomes the youngest US international. on the 5-meter line for Canada, and they push over for their second try. They're doing their best to push back the Americans all around the stadium. Push from the Canadian fans. Can they get there? Referees stopped it.
Let him go, 6 and 5, side entry.
And some afters as well.
Hey.
Let's listen to this.
Scrum.
It'll be a scrum.
It's an interesting call. In such an attacking position, the Canadians seem to not have too much faith in their scrum today, but that's a very interesting call that they would not have run a set play or maybe even taken the line out. We'll see what the result of it is. But with big Tom Dalzell on the tight head side, excuse me, the loose head side, with Jason Marshall still at tight head, if the scrum can tighten things up a bit, and this is obviously an optimum attacking position.
Just 5 meters out from the American line.
Crouch!
And Phil Mack, get it in, get it out, and get it over the line with the help of some other red shirts.
Yes, 9! Stay binding, 7.
Clean this time. Matt waits for it to come out. May go himself.
Hand in red.
Referee's whistle is gone.
What number, please?
Penalty to the US.
Hand in scrum. Hand in the scrum.
Referee's calling there was a hand in the scrum, and the only thing I can
hand in the scrum.
I can see is if he's scooped the ball out. He's looked over at the touch judge on the sideline, who apparently called it, but Aaron Carpenter is allowed to field the ball with his hands at the number 8 position.
It was all very nice in practice, but it came to nothing.
But the number 8, obviously at the base of the scrum, is allowed to play the ball. I'm not quite sure of that call by the touch judge official.
And the result of all that is that as we stay at 8-8, we'll go downstairs once again, and more from Megan.
Well, Brian, you're wanting to talk about John Moonlight, and he just slyly managed to change his boots, his broken boots, during run of play and run back on. He did miss a shift, if you will, in Canadian.
There you go. You see, you've got to be quick in this game, and there's the evidence. Moonlight off, changes the boots and back on before you could say Jack Robinson.
What's the double switch?
Or Moonlight, perhaps. Couple of tries under his belt.
Crouch!
Just 8 career games for Canada.
Set!
Scrum on the 22-meter line.
Reset. Reset.
Reset again. And, well, the scrummage problems are persisting, aren't they? 8-8 on the day. But that 18-point aggregate lead remains intact for Canada. As we refocus on yet another reset scrum, and they are persistent problems at the time, for the time being, aren't they?
Well, I thought the previous scrum that they called the penalty off erroneously on Aaron Carpenter was very solid, as this one is. So Tom Dalzell at Loosehead has tightened things up a wee bit for now.
Jones. Canada moving it right. And there as well as Sinclair. Mack turns left. Looks for help. It's behind Jones.
On your feet, US.
The Americans pile in. Get on your feet, says the referee. Canada retains possession. Moonlight. As Mack brings it away again. Canada looking for that gap in the fence, so to speak, as far as the Americans' backs are concerned. Just in American territory.
Strip backwards. Strip backwards.
And this time it's Robbie Shaw all the way back. Kicking for position. Inside his own 22. So this one spins straight into touch. But no harm done as far as Pritchard is concerned. But I don't think he's very happy with that kick.
No, One player who has impressed me today for Canada is Kieran Hearn. He got caught there with several tacklers on him. He managed to keep his feet, then he went down. Canada won the ball. He's played very good defense. He set up Pritchard's try, and the big center, 7 specialist, is having a nice afternoon at BMO.
No, what did you say?
Well, changes then for the Americans. Mike Petrie coming on, presumably at scrum half, and Cameron Dolan comes into the forward line as well, as you look at Kieran Hearn. So more fresh legs for the Americans. And Nanyak Gala as well into the Canadian pack. And this is the time at which you tend to find the replacements are
not forward, US.
fairly quickly introduced into the game. Sometimes a job to keep tabs on them all.
Forward off your right hand.
Nanyak Dalla, who just came in, he's had a terrific 2013. He's played very well, played terrific in the PNC, had a big game in the victory over Fiji. Coming off the bench, he does everything that's asked of him. He makes his tackles, he gets around the park. He's been terrific this year.
Pritchard again spilled it under pressure from Scully. Sinclair, by the way, has gone to the second row with Dalla on as a flanker.
Dudley, can you just test that now? Because, hold on. Yeah?
Pritchard, by his own high standards,
no,
and they are very high standards, has not been 100% on his game today, has he?
No, he scored a wonderful try, but he won't be happy with that missed kick. And
I've got you now.
You know, a player of his reputation should not miss a kick like that. No. That being said, he makes so many of them. He is only human, but I think the Canadians, you know, with an aggregate lead of 18 points, you know, they're looking very solid here going into the last quarter, but I think overall they can't be happy with the way they've played today. They do have a quarter left to run in some tries. They have to pick it up.
Well, something that was said before the game, even though, and notwithstanding Canada had this 18-point lead, I think from the Canadian camp the message was loud and clear, and it was along the lines of, we want to win this, we want to win this convincingly, we want to make a statement that we are, you know, better than just a tier 2 team, and that we can polish off the Americans with some flourish, and they're not doing it.
Yeah, absolutely. It's one try for each side. The Canadians have not brought their A game this afternoon. They have had a lot of rugby this summer, no excuses, but they have 20 minutes to turn around. I think if things continue the way they are, they'll be in a bittersweet mood afterwards. They have 20 minutes to put it right.
Set!
Yes, another scrum. Canada looks to emerge from its own 22. There's been, by the way, some communications issues, shall we say, between the central referee, JP Doyle, and his assistants. We believe those are now all sorted out. As Luke Hume makes good yards for the Americans, looking to get their noses back in front. That won't be enough. They've got to get their noses, their chests, their arms, and their bodies in front if they want to stop Canada going to the World Cup, and Canada will get another penalty.
17, not part of the tackle. 7, not part of the tackle. Holding.
Here's the run from Hume, and Nanakdala. There he goes. That's as far as you're going.
Try it again.
The initial tackle from Tyler Hudson. Stopped Hume in his tracks.
Let blue of the line, let blue of the line.
Line out on halfway.
Canada, move, your line out.
Barkwell with the put in, or the throw in, if you like. Taken cleanly. Mack, Jones, missing out one. Pritchard on that far side now. Van der Merwe. Back to Mack again. And away comes Canada. Evans. There's a man on the overlap here if he can be found. Nanyak Gala, the substitute, into American territory, 5 meters short. Jones. Pritchard evades one tackle. Pritchard may go all the way. Taken down by an important tackle. But suddenly it's refreshing running rugby as Lightfoot, Moonlight, I beg your pardon, goes to ground. Canada threatening their second try. Here they come again. There's definitely men over here, and surely the second try is coming. Ferocious defense from the Americans to keep them out for the time being. They've got it in the corner.
Looks like big Jason Marshall did.
Got it down. It's going to go upstairs to the television referee, but Marshall thinks he scored, and it looks like 13-8.
We mentioned Nanyak Dalla when he came in. He's been all over the park. He's been making tackles. He's been great in support. Carpenter pops the ball out, and Nanyak Dalla is there. But Jason Marshall, on sheer strength, would not allow the U.S. Eagle to push him out of bounds. I think this is going to be a good try.
A conversation between the referee and his assistant. Just a matter of, did he run out of real estate? There's Nanyak Dalla with Wiles on his back. And then you'll see Marshall come into the picture.
Nice stuff, Duds.
And there we are. Marshall, can he get down? Can he get it clean? Can he get it over the try line? Well, that looks fairly conclusive. Certainly the fans here watching it on the big screen think it's a good try.
And I think they're right. And this is all strength. This angle should tell us the story. Ball down. The only question might have been, was his foot out of bounds? I don't think it was. He did not hit the corner flag. That looks like a good try.
Now, Marshall certainly thought he'd scored. He thought it was clean, but he waits for official confirmation. An hour gone, and we believe the try is going to be given. It is, and now they can celebrate. Marshall was right all along. He knew he'd got it down, and Canada have their second try of the afternoon.
And there's the man that's brought some spark to the lineup since being subbed in, Nanyak Dalla. He's been all over the place, and once again, big Jason Marshall would not be pushed out by 2 or 3 Eagles. He willed that try in the corner with his big, strong body.
It gives Canada a little bit of breathing space. A third try in his international career. Downstairs, here's Megan.
Yep. We saw the last 2 phases of play there that the Canadians were finally expansive rugby. And on the last one there was, I think, 4 forwards in a row. And there's nothing so joyous as watching a forward prancing it into the try zone. I swear that tries by forwards should be worth more.
Well, that's an interesting thought, Megan. I've never really thought of it like that, but there we are. Marshall will take the 5 for the time being, and Pritchard misses another kick, which makes him, is it 1 for 4 today? Here's another look at the build-up, and as Megan said, all forwards here. And Nanyak Dalla coming in, swerve, finds Marshall, then the big push, get it down in the corner. 13-8 in favour of Canada, who seem now well set to qualify automatically for the 2015 Rugby World Cup. They've got to play out these last 20 minutes. And if they can finish with a flourish, I'm sure they'll be very happy. On with it quickly is Harry Jones. The referee's brought him back.
Don't play me for a fool. Don't play me for a fool.
Substitution for USA. Player number 22.
Same page? Hey, come on.
We now have 2 Suniulas on the field. Roland and Andrew. Our brothers, there are 3 members of the Suniula clan for the Americans. 2 of them here. Line out, well done by Moonlight. Back with the up and under. Didn't get the distance in the wind. And the Americans take over. Heading for the Canadian 22. Possibilities here for Suniula. Just about his first touch of the ball. Forward they come. Strange out, well, came off the back of the heel. It's all very untidy, but it will be an American ball. Didn't go forward, I don't believe. The US will keep it. Luke Cube has the ball with him.
All within 10.
The referee's calling Jeb St. Clair for not retreating on the earlier kick by Phil Mack. Jeb St. Clair's got to calm down a bit. He's been yipping at the ref, who's giving it right back to him. He has to take a leadership role in that forward pack and lead the forwards in the last 15 minutes of this game. He's back in the second row.
Hey, and his ears open again.
But he has been having some banter with the referee, and he better stop it right now.
Sean White entering the equation for Canada to take over from Phil Mack at scrum half.
Subs.
13-8 is the score on the day, a 23-point aggregate lead for Canada. And there, as we mentioned, Sean White taking over from Phil Mack, and what a game and what 3 quarters he's had. He's really stamped his identity on this Canadian team, hasn't he, over the last couple of weekends?
No question. He's a smaller man, but he has a heart of a lion, and the forwards gravitate to his game, moving them forward in the game in spaces. He's been terrific.
So his day is done. Sean White comes in to replace him at scrum half, and some defense to start him off with as the Americans 10-11 meters short of the Canadian try line. He brings it to a halt. Mike Petrie also on for the Americans, so both scrum halves have been
Cannot dive at a player's feet.
Switched.
In the first half, we talked about foul play on the goal line. I'm now saying the same again. Foul play, someone leaves the field.
Sorry, sir.
Tackling, no arms.
He called John Moonlight on a shoulder charge, not wrapping, and he's warned him, and I think Doyle is real keen to give out a yellow card. The Canadians better be on their toes.
Trying to burrow his way through. Red shirts all across the goal line as they look to keep the Americans out. They were breached once in the first half, not since that moment. And a huge roar as Moonlight comes away with it for Canada. And they forced him to touch, but again, good, strong, disciplined defense from Canada.
They've played well inside their 5-meter line, defending the Eagles, who can't punch it over, but with the restart, they're back at it now.
And Petrie, the ball away to Suniula. And the ball is dropped. A kick forward. And now it's a chase on. There could be a try in the offing here. But no, well, they're carrying on, but surely the whistle is gone. Yes, I'm not sure the players heard any of that. Meanwhile, 80 meters away from what you're watching, 80 meters away from what you're watching, this is all a rehearsal and a little bit of fitness training for the players. Isn't it, Brian?
Well, you know, I was just going to say, I've never seen that happen before, but it happened last week in Charleston, where, based on the noise of the crowd, the players couldn't hear the whistle, and they played on for about 30 seconds last week, and they just did the same thing here. The referee was playing advantage all along, so once the Eagles spilt it and Barkwell kicked it, the play was done.
Well, the cheers have turned to boos because Mr. Doyle, the villain of the piece, had blown his whistle some seconds before, and we're back inside the Canadian 22 again, and order has somewhat been restored.
Garrett Johns on the field talking to Ray Barkwell. The question will be, will they expect him to put a full shift in today and play the full 80 minutes, or may they sub him off and put Aaron Carpenter at hooker for the last run in the game? I think they would be well advised to keep Barkwell where he is, even though they've had issues in the scrum and even though they've had a few issues in the lineout. Just take this home as is and then regroup for the fall series.
Meanwhile, US with a chance to reduce the arrears from this penalty, just a metre or so outside the Canadian 22, just to the right of the posts as the kicker looks at it. This should bring it back to a 2-point game. This time it's good. This time it's good from Wiles. 13-11 in favour of Canada.
Yeah.
We're inside the last 15 minutes. Wiles has been influential, as you would expect. James Pritchard, his opposite number, has left the field, Brian.
Yeah, James Pritchard's been subbed off, and Nathan Hirayama's at fullback having him run. Very handy player. Hirayama plays number 10 as well. Pritchard's had a lot of rugby, and I think it's a good move to get Hirayama on, who's played very well for Canada in the PNC, and last week when he came on as well.
Forward by the Americans, well taken by Canada. Now Kieran Hearn with a chance to boot it clear from inside his own 22. That's got good distance and manages to find touch. As we get some more information about a sin bin events, I think, from Megan.
Yeah, during that mix-up, while the play kept going on and it got called back for the downfield, it was because Nanyak Dala actually got pinged for not rolling away. I just asked him now if it was a first-time offense or repetitive, and it's repetitive, not by him, but apparently early in the game they've had a few of those.
So Nanyak Dala, instrumental in that Canadian score, now has to sit it out for a little while.
Well, as I said, the referee has warned the Canadians a few times, and Dala unfortunately does get the bin. He had played well while he was in there, but a few other players, as I mentioned, Jeb Sinclair, I think the referee was watching him. He warned John Moonlight for a shoulder charge on a tackle, and he seemed to be gunning to give a yellow card to the Canadians, and they will have to tighten it up here, 14-15.
And only a 2-point lead at this stage of proceedings. Remind you that that's translated into an aggregate score is 20 overall. But we've mentioned it once or twice. Canada coming into this game not only wanted to beat the Americans again, but beat them convincingly and put on a bit of a show. But it's been something of a struggle for both teams in this second leg decider in Toronto. Forward with the Canadians. In charge of forwards. Marshall, the try scorer, brings it away. Finds Jones. Marshall again playing a makeshift scrum half at the moment. Evans. And the penalty outcoming to the Americans.
14 on his feet, not part of the tackle. Sorry, 12.
Player number 20, Derek Aslan.
The Canadians ran a play off the scrum there where they moved the right winger into the back line. There was no winger to be found. They ran the same play against Ireland in June with Phil Mackencarpenter and almost scored off it. And on this particular play, Carpenter was off and running with Sean White, but the Eagles collected themselves on defense and stopped it. But it's a great looking play that Canada has in their arsenal.
A change in the back row for the Americans. Asburn on for Peter Dahl. 10 minutes to go. International rugby on TSN. Canada heading towards the Rugby World Cup in 2 years' time, leading the US on the day by 13 points to 11, but by an aggregate overall total of 20 points. Well, couldn't hold on to it, and Petrie will be annoyed with himself. He spilled the feed from the line out, I beg your pardon. Thought he was going to get away with it, but the referee whistled him down.
Please don't challenge me.
There's confirmation. 11, 20 points overall.
Let's go!
Therefore, it's incumbent upon the Americans to score, what, 4 tries in the last 10 minutes, which is unlikely by most people's standards, I think, Brian.
Yes, 9.
Not impossible, but unlikely.
Binding wing forward.
Big ahead by Canada. It's going to come down to the Scully
16.
over halfway before he stopped.
Stay there, 21, stay there.
Chip ahead. Looking for touch, and the bounce favours the Americans this time, inside the 22.
Now, although the Americans look like they're in tough for the World Cup qualifying, today is the annual Canada-American Can-Am match as well, and that trophy will be awarded after the game, and that would be a bittersweet moment for the Eagles if they could pull this game out and get that trophy but not get the World Cup qualifying. But there's a lot of pride on the line. Todd Clever will have his troops going in the last few minutes to try and pull out this game, but 20 points is not going to happen.
It's worth remembering that the Canadians have beaten the Americans for 6 straight games, so they're trying to obviously break that run of unsuccess as far as the Americans are concerned. Canada can hang on here. It'll be 7 in a row against their southern cousins. Petrie, as the Americans move it right. Big hit on the 22-meter from Nguyen.
Release!
He's trying to use it. Petrie, the little handoff. Red shirts come at them in a tide. There was almost a gap there. Marshall, head-high tackle. Referee let it go for the time being. It will be a Canadian penalty.
Blood. Blood.
Well, that seemed like a high tackle from Marshall to me. I'm not sure whether it is still
Take him?
a part of the legal process, so to speak. But
the ball was bobbling and available, but earlier Sean White made a big tackle, and he's been hurt. And he got up after being. It's Nick Blevins. He made a big tackle in the centers. And even while he was down, he jumped up to try and make a second one. But both him and Kieran Hearn have been in the centers to tighten things up in the PNC against Ireland. Canada looked a bit susceptible to the run up the middle. And Blevins is a big-time tackler and paying the price for it right now.
A standing ovation for the centre as he leaves the field and will get patched up. Whether he has the opportunity to return, we'll have to wait and see, but certainly the blood has got to be staunched before he'll come back on.
Come on, Ray. Come on, gotta have a little fun. Gotta have a little fun.
And Yagdala, meanwhile, is on his feet, waiting for that sin bin offence to end. So by my reckoning, we're playing 13 against 15 for a moment.
Yes, 9.
Phil McKenzie has come in as a replacement for Blevins. He's in the centers, so the Canadians have made a substitution, and regardless of the blood sub, I'm sure McKenzie will ride it out with about 6 minutes to go. Dallas back on the field, and it looks like it's all square now.
So we're back to 15 aside.
No, I'm sorry. Dallas on the sideline ready to get back onto the field. It's not quite the 10 minutes, 90 seconds the referee just said. Dallas was up and keen to get on, but the referee has said 90 seconds to go. So we're still 14 on 15 for the Canadians.
The Americans move it right. Over halfway in the sunshine in Toronto. The sun may well be going down on the Americans' hopes of automatically qualifying for the Rugby World Cup if they can't change the score radically in the next few minutes. Clever releases Petrie along the line. Nolan was in there as well. This is Suniola. But he moves it right this time. Two Canadians converge on the tackle.
Come back, play on.
5 minutes to go, play on, says the referee.
Rook 6.
Now he's had enough and gives the penalty to Canada.
Rook 6.
And they will clear this and just ride it out.
Yes, you are.
Ray Barkwell is really tired down there. He's played his heart out today. I don't think they are going to sub him.
4.5.
Aldridge is down below us. alongside Nani Agdala. He's ready to come in as a replacement, so there's going to be some fresh legs in a moment. Jason Marshall may be leaving. Dalla is now back on the field. He served his suspension and also the introduction of Coolidge.
Sub, we're making subs.
Yeah, the Canadians just want to ride this out. I think if they can get the victory today in the Can-Am Trophy and obviously qualify for the World Cup, they will be delighted. I think reflectively this hasn't been their finest hour this afternoon, but they want to ride this through and have the victory. I don't think the Americans have much left in the tank as well. It's been a tough 2 weeks of rugby, very physical. The forwards are very tired, grinding it down.
Coolidge on the field, replacing Jason Marshall for these last few minutes. But it's been a tough old battle out there. It hasn't been a flowing game for either side. There's been a lot of hard yards for the forwards to get through. A lot of scrums and resets. We're going to have another one here now. It's a reasonably warm afternoon. I mean, these guys are athletes, but they've been asked to, both sets of players, I think, have been put through the mill this afternoon.
Yes, 9.
Reflected in a very close score. Here come Canada again, trying to get it up to halfway. Kieran Hearn, not sure where to go. Ran out of options, the blue shirts were buzzing around him. Moonlight gave it away. Straight into the arms of an American. Petrie picks it up for the US. 10 meters inside the Canadian half.
Assist tackler.
Referee's whistle will stop it all.
Assist
and we
tackler.
will have another scrum.
Now the Americans have been awarded a penalty here. Very tough kick, but it looks like they're going to be attempting the penalty, which would put them in the lead, 14-13.
Not releasing the tackle player, the reason for the stoppage there and the restart and the penalty for the Americans. Wiles is over it. Looks like he's going to kick for the posts, which would put the US on top in this particular second leg. It might lead to a rare victory over Canada. It wouldn't change the aggregate in the great scheme of things. So Wiles, left-footed, 15 meters outside the 22, and 15 meters left to the post as he looks at it. Can he put up the US on top for the first time? It's not a good kick. It's not a good kick. And neither Pritchard nor Wiles, as the Canadian fans celebrate that, is not been of top quality. Megan, has it?
No. I feel a little bit bad for Chris Wiles because I feel like the whole American team by now has kind of realized the time and the point of the game they're at. The crowd here all day has been outstanding, and they're behind and they're educated. I was there 4 years ago in Ellerslie when they were qualifying last time, and the crowd was good, but this is much better, and it's a great tribute to see how much their game has grown in Canada.
Well, amen to that, indeed, Megan, and the more times, the more awareness that this game and this team gets in the run-up to the 2015 World Cup can only be good for the game, Brian.
Absolutely, and a quick look forward for the fans that haven't done so. The Canadians will be in Pool D with France, Ireland, Italy, and a Euro 2 qualifier. So winnable games in that group.
Strip back.
Last few seconds as Canada prepares to celebrate. It hasn't been a vintage performance, but it's been good enough. And it's over now, and Canada is going to the 2015 Rugby World Cup. Put this date in your diary, September the 19th, 2015, at the Millennium Stadium. Canada will play in Pool D against Ireland.